Now Sean joins me live in the studio today with his electric bass. Thanks for coming in, man.
Hey, man. Glad to be here.
So what was the first song, now that you have your bass with you, what was the first song that you learned on bass?
First song I learned on bass is probably, you know that?
What is that? Okay.
Money! You know that tune.
Yeah, the Pink
Pink
Floyd tune.
That was like the first line I ever learned.
And how did you learn it?
Well, I mean, through YouTube. Internet, was a huge thing for just learning how and the ins and outs of the technical aspect of playing bass.
Right.
I would just watch videos of guys just breaking apart technique, and then I would just lift. I didn't call it lifting at the time. That was a term that I learned in at Humber. But I just basically would transcribe bass lines that I liked.
You have perfect pitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember last year when we took a streetcar together.
Yeah.
And it was after my gig, and we talked about having perfect pitch and how it has accelerated our learning.
Yeah,
so we kind of
absolutely.
get this edge over everybody else. Not to sound elitist or anything. But
No, but it's huge. Man, to be able to just immediately hear a tune and know the key center, know exactly what's happening is it's just you're able to just jump into the music immediately,
Yeah.
So that was a huge thing. And perfect pitch, I didn't even really realize I had it until someone pointed it out. My piano teachers at the time pointed it out to me. They said, "Oh, you have perfect pitch," and I didn't really understand that it was something that not everybody had. You know what I mean? Because it's just I would just be like, "Mommy, this song's in C major," and she'd be like, "What? What are you talking about?" So it's just something you don't realize you have it until someone tells you.
Some people develop perfect pitch, or some really close to perfect pitch.
Right.
Yeah, my brother, he didn't have perfect pitch when he started, and then I think over time I would just tell him to turn around, and I'd play notes on the piano, and then over time he'd guess the notes correctly.
Interesting.
More and more. Of the
Yeah,
notes.
I think you can develop extremely accurate relative pitch.
Right.
To the point where you could almost say it's perfect pitch. I almost feel like sometimes I might have that rather than having it as perfect pitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But for people that are listening that don't really know how much of an edge it gives you, how has it helped you having perfect pitch?
Okay, well, like I said before, being able to jump into music really quickly, so you just know exactly what's happening in a tune. I mean, if especially if it's not particularly dense, as in it's not filled with numerous chord changes moving at a rapid pace. Say if it's just a song with your standard chord progression, you just know exactly what key it's in, so you can just play it back immediately. Yeah. So you have the ability to play back anything that you hear. And it also makes you able to hear something and play it lift something really quickly. So
transcribe.
Hearing a lick that you enjoy, and you just immediately know what it is. You can just absorb it into your vocabulary.
What were the first records or songs that you transcribed?
Well, I guess I actually would play a lot of I remember as a kid I would play Star Wars songs on keyboard. I would I just remember learning the
Yeah.
That tune though has some weird chord movements. It goes from G minor
at first
to C sharp minor, which are two completely unrelated keys.
It's a tritone.
Tritone away from each other. And so, without having perfect pitch, I probably wouldn't have been able to figure out what the heck's going on because it's not predictable. It doesn't have a regular kind of diatonic movement. So I was able to I was lifting tunes like that, just Star Wars stuff that I as a kid I was really into, and I would just play it on keyboard. So stuff like that, and then I got more. I got into progressive rock a lot. Prog, lots of lots of classical music too, because I was playing.
So you started off playing classical music.
Yeah.
How was your experience playing that stuff?
Classical music was one of the best things I could have ever really endeavored in, and it's the best thing I like to get myself started, because it's incredibly disciplinary, and it instills a musical work ethic, but it also exposes you to just unbelievably beautiful music that is like just intellectual, but also just enriching. Like, it shows you like pure music, and then I don't know. I just took that, and like I personally really loved Bach, and Bach is like still a huge influence on me. So yeah, it was the best thing I could have done, and it also, that's how I trained myself to develop an ear and like really cultivate I know I had an innate ability to hear and to like understand the language of music, but classical really pushed me to like pursue it, you know what I mean? And then as I grew tired of being, just like a passive, docile child who was just doing the curriculum of classical music, I wanted to do my own stuff, or like choose the music I play, and like really like,
yeah, that's a big difference is
right?
When you start doing jazz or you start playing, and the stuff that you're playing now is that you're composing
Exactly
a lot of it. And classical, I feel it's you're playing the stuff that's been played over and over and over again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's mostly about interpretation, and like having the most musical interpretation of a piece that's been done millions of times.
Right. So
right?
You brought your 6-string bass.
So I have my 6-string bass. I've got my pedals.
What pedals did you bring?
Well, I just actually have one pedal right now. It's a multi-effects pedal.
All right.
So it has built-in like reverbs, delays, envelope filters.
What's an envelope filter?
So an envelope filter, well, here, let me just give you a little taste of what it sounds like. So the idea is the way it handles the attack. I mean, I don't have the technical terminology, but I guess if you listen, the attack comes in like slower, but then it pops and then it comes back down. So it's like a wow sound.
And who was the first? Do you remember who the first artist was that pioneered that sound? Who did you get it from?
Bootsy Collins, probably.
Right.
Now I think about it.
Did you learn a lot of Bootsy Collins riffs and?
Yeah,
grooves?
I mean, I listened to a lot of him. I didn't particularly as much like lift his stuff till later, when I was more starting to getting into like funk. And,
what was the first thing you lifted from him?
From Bootsy?
Can you play it?
I don't know.
With the envelope filter?
There's so much stuff. It's been so long. I mean, I listen to like a lot of Larry Graham and stuff. Like. It's been a while since I've played that, but
is E the easiest string? Like the easiest key to play in?
Well, yeah. It's funny you say that, because most of the funk is in E.
Right.
That's hard. I couldn't say that, but a lot of funk is in E, because it's
the
open
strings.
strings.
The open strings.
Yeah.
Right.
You just get that. It's all there, right? Like you can just. You don't have to worry about dealing with fretting.
Yeah.
Just get all that open goods.
So how much was your bass again?
So I bought it used for $2,500, but it was worth about $4,000. It's an F bass.
Is that
Beautiful.
the standard like price range?
For higher end boutique like basses, usually around there. Like it's usually like $3,000 and up for like nice basses.
What are those? You have 6 knobs on your bass. What do they do?
Okay, so I've got the two main knobs are for volume on each pickup. So I can demonstrate like the different tones you get from the pickup. So
sure.
If I were to just roll the first knob, which is the front pickup, it has a more kind of a P bass, old school, classic tone. Like you can think of like James Jamerson as one example of that kind of tone. You know?
Yeah.
It's got that old school vibe. It's all the fundamental. So it's less of like the harmonic, like the upper structures of the note. It's just
It's
just
raw.
low. It's
Yeah.
just all the low frequencies. So I could start blending in a bit of the back pickup now. So this is your just front pickup tone. If I dial in a bit of the back pickup, there's a little bit more mid
Right.
starting to cut in, and it just rounds out the tone a bit more. And this is sort of like this is what most people use for the slap type tone.
All
so
right.
if you're going,
Yeah.
so that's the
All right.
classic slap type tone.
So
that-
2 of them are for volume,
Yep.
and 4 of them are for tone.
And yeah, the rest it's an equalizer. So then,
Right.
so just back pickup is like the Jocko type vibe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's that vibe.
What is that? Teen Town?
That's Teen Town. Yeah. So that was another huge
record.
kind of like a revelation for me.
Do you
as a
do
bass
do you do
player.
vinyl?
I don't.
I recently got into vinyl,
dude, it's
and it's I think it's the best thing because you like have the actual album art and the jacket.
It's just like a vibe, you know. It's like you just have it in your hands, you know, like tangible, and like it's so organic too.
Did your parents have vinyl?
No, but every time I've listened to vinyl, I just loved it, you know.
Yeah.
Except sometimes, do you ever notice that because you have perfect pitch too, right?
Right.
So do you ever notice when you listen to vinyl, sometimes it's like
a
a little
little out?
sharp or like flat or whatever?
A little bit. I have a lot of rock records on vinyl.
Right.
So like,
It doesn't even really matter.
yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like those records, a lot of them are out of tune anyways.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Slightly out of tune.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
just funny when you play along to them, and it's just like so out. You have to tune your instrument
Yeah.
to the.
A little bit.
the
It's
track.
not really out,
Yeah.
but a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have your bass. Let's hear something.
Sure.
I'm Felix Wong here in the studio with Sean Dennis, and you're listening to Double Booked on CGRU 1280 AM. Sean's gonna play. What are you gonna play?
Here's a little like improvised loop that I've been kind of messing with lately.
Sure.
Oh snap! So the loop got off there. Let me try this again.
Sure. What happened?
I actually don't know. For some reason, it didn't let me loop the whole thing.
Oh.
That's weird.
Okay, just move a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
to the right because you're out of the camera.
For
Sean.
sure. Let's try this again, guys.
Sure. Sure.
So now it's looping.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's like the idea. I'm still working on how to like incorporate loops, but I really like the idea like just having like myself supported by harmony, so I can just go.
When you
off.
press the button for the loop, do you have to press it at the right time
Yeah,
so
it has
that
to be exact.
Because otherwise it's gonna like delay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And see, this isn't the best looper in the world. Most like loopers will like kind of accommodate a little bit. Like there's like also they'll have like a tempo marking. It'll give you like a light that shows you where the tempo is, so you can just hit it right where the light flashes.
Right.
Whereas this is like you kind of just have to guess. Or your time has to be really good, right?
So that tune you just played, how many segments do you have to loop? Like how many different parts of it?
Well,
like
I just looped the main chord progression, which is just the. Like these chords. So I looped those, and then I played the head over top.
You wrote that?
Yeah, this is just a little thing I wrote recently. Sure. And I've never actually done it live like this, because I usually just I've looped it on Logic before and then just kind of played around with it. So I thought I'd give it a try today and see how it goes.
Yeah, that sounds great, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
When you play compositions for the first time in front of people or, broadcast or whatever, how does it feel?
Well, see, this is something where I've almost had to learn really to just not care at all. I've had to slowly train myself, because I used to be very self-conscious about what I was writing and what I would bring in, even to an ensemble. Say I've got guys I got a tune, I'm gonna bring it in,
right?
But I don't judge me, don't think it's bad. All the just that feeling of because you're exposed. This is if it's a tune that you really care about, this is something that is your baby. It's and it's.
How did you get past that self-consciousness?
Yeah. I think it's just slowly I just decided I need to just do it. I just need to keep bringing in tunes. I don't care what people think, if they think it's good or not, or whatever, So, and I also have learned to almost detach myself from things that I write. So to be less coddling over something that I write and just let it be just an entity.
To not have to massage things over and over again.
Or just just not, yeah, exactly. Not be thinking about it so in depth and just put it out there, You have to almost cut yourself off a certain point of revision and just be this is ready. I don't need to let this like gestate much longer, and I
Yeah.
don't need to keep revising. Sometimes you just have to tell yourself to like put it out there. So now it doesn't even faze me anymore. But it used to. It definitely used to.
But you still put a lot of effort into writing like one short little melody because
Absolutely.
you want it to be perfect.
Yeah, I want it. Yeah, exactly. I want it to be as as potent as it can be.
Right.
But I won't go too crazy on like revision. If something I don't like about it or something, I'll just put it out there and just let it stand on its own, and then move on and write the next thing.
Right. So when you write melodies, sometimes you feel as though you're copying other people's stuff, and then you have to redo the whole thing.
Absolutely.
I used to get that a lot.
Yeah.
I'd be like writing a melody, and then I'd realize, oh, this is like some like lick that I heard.
Yeah, dude. Like it happens all the time because
Right.
you can't help but, especially if you have good ears too, like it's like it's just stuff is just gonna sit in your brain because you just absorb
You
it,
absorb everything.
and then
Yeah.
you're just eventually it's gonna let itself out somehow, whether or not you're improvising or you're writing or something like that. It's gonna kind of be there, so it can manifest that way. And if you notice it, it can be frustrating. It's like especially if you've written this has happened to me for sure. If I've written something and then I I'll be like, oh, that's great, and then I'll kind of put it away for a bit. I'll be listening to music and I'll hear something. I'll be like, damn, I just ripped that off. I'll be like, I haven't listened to this song in like 2 years.
Right.
It's been sitting in there, and it won't even be something that it won't be dramatic. It'll just be like maybe a tiny segment of.
Do you have an
head.
example of that? Can you play it?
Dude, I don't, unfortunately, but like there has been many times where that has happened.
What are some examples of melodies that you've written that you're really proud of?
Well, that's one of them. I really like the way that melody feels. I'm a big sucker for this.
Yeah. The minor 6 coming down.
So like 9, sharp 11, and sharp 11 resolves to the 5. It's just so pretty.
Yeah, that's really nice.
So if I incorporate that in melodies, I really like that. I just want to be able to write something that you can sing as well,
Yeah, of course.
Something that has that vocal quality. I really like using like extensions as melody notes as well. That's another thing I really like.
So, bass, you play it so melodically.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. When you started, why did you pick the bass? Because you have this melodic quality in your playing, and why didn't you gravitate towards guitar?
Well, that's interesting because, I do tend to play guitaristically a lot,
Yeah.
I think, when I first decided to play bass, it was because I was also playing keyboard at the time, and I was listening to a lot of Rush, and I loved how Rush, Geddy Lee, plays keys and bass. So I thought it would be cool to be able to do both of those things in a band setting.
Because guitar and keys often clash.
Right, exactly. So I thought it would be cool to be able to do both as a single member. So then I just ended up really enjoying playing the bass as a bass at first, not even just thinking guitaristically on the bass, but just playing bass lines is great. It's like the foundation, and it feels so good when you're just laying it down,
when you're laying down time.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that if you solo on bass all the time, you don't know how to lay it down, but it's learning how to do all the things that like this instrument is capable of.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people give it 6 strings flack because it's sort of like, it's not really bass anymore, man. It's like a guitar. You're just playing guitar.
Yeah, but like 2 octaves down or whatever.
Why would you put a label on what a bass can be or should be?
Right.
Because like it can be anything you want. So, I mean, for me, it's like the having a 6 string is just the ability to have more melodic options. I can go higher. I can like get up there, and I can also play chordally. But then it doesn't mean I won't be able to just play, sometimes you just gotta do that. That's what pays the bills,
Yeah.
That's like no money past the 3rd fret.
Okay, let's listen to something from Gridlock. You want to play along? This is
Sure,
Gridlock.
I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah, Gridlock is your duo project.
Yes.
And who else is playing on that with you?
So the duo project involves me, obviously, playing bass and keyboards.
Right.
And a bit of guitar. And my buddy and best bud, Jacob Aylward, playing drums. So this record that you're about to play is actually all done with MIDI. So we spent, 3 or 4 months at the end of the school year last year playing, or just writing and recording this record on Logic, all MIDI. He played keyboard drums, so he played all the drums on a MIDI keyboard, and then I just did like a bunch of the synths and whatnot.
Was it hard for him to play drums on MIDI keyboard?
Well, he's a crazy dude. He can he plays keyboard drums just as well as he plays kit.
Right.
And so I guess he's just been doing it for a long time. He's figured it out. He knows where everything is.
Okay.
And so he's just as fluent. So it's pretty amazing to watch.